today. Nameframe.com. Welcome back. You're listening to the Cindy Laverty Show on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Thanks for joining me. My guest today is Carol Sanker, and we're talking about overcoming fear, finding your uniqueness, living in greatness. And I was just talking to Carol about how, as an adult, she knew that she was destined for uniqueness. And Carol, thanks for being with us. Tell us about that.
Sure. I don't exactly know when I recognized that I was a little bit different. I was never one of those, I wasn't one of your typical kids. I didn't enjoy playing in the park, and I'm originally from New York City, and I didn't really enjoy playing in the park on the weekends or bike riding. That wasn't my thing. I was always a bookworm. You name a good book, I read it, I had it, and at a very young age, I tried to fit in the mold of a lot of things, and it just really was not my calling. And then I took that same principle, and when I got to corporate America, when did I think I got my first real job at about 17 or 18, and then I went into legal America, which is like law firm America.
Right.
And I just realized this is not for me. My calling is a little bit more abundant than this, and I did not know how to get out. I tried everything I could to try to fit the mold of what society says is normal. You get a 9 to 5, you just try to adjust to this thing, and you retire, and one day you'll get a pension and Social Security and die. I tried it, and it just was not for me. So,
yeah, and I think, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, it's really hard to fit into that mold. I had a hard time, which is why I'm not doing it anymore.
It's really hard when you know you have it, and you don't know how to. It's very difficult. It was very difficult for me to, number one, it was difficult for me to relate to people because I couldn't have conversations that other people could have. I used to call them hourly conversations. Some people that I knew just could talk by the hour. If they made $18 an hour, it's all they could talk about. If they had lunch for an hour, it's all they could talk about, and I could not do those things. And it was not that I was feeling better. I just couldn't do it. I didn't know how to do it.
You say that you left corporate America because you were pregnant with a dream. What a great way of putting that. What does that mean?
I knew that I had something bigger in me that I didn't know what it was, but the only way I can birth it is if I left. And I did not have I didn't have the stamina to leave on my own, and so I always say that God had to remove that from me. So I lost my job at a time that I knew that I was really pregnant, and I had already started my business on the side long before I was laid off. So my whole department comes in one day, and they sat out some nice Krispy Kreme donuts and coffee and everything, and they laid us all off.
Oh, isn't that special?
Yes, and when I tell you, the room was smelling so good with all of the aroma of all the dough and everything, and then they came in and then they announced it, and people were like passing out. And for some reason, it didn't even affect me. It was almost like nobody was even talking to me. It was like I said to myself, thank God, because I was going to quit. I didn't even know that this was going to be a good day. I remember going home. It was wintertime in New York, and I had my windows open. I was just so happy. I was elated with joy because now whatever it was that I was pregnant with, I could be able to birth it. Now I had that free time between 9 and 5 to make my 5 to 9 my 9 to 5.
Right.
So all of the business that I was working in the evening, now I could do this during the daytime. And just figure out all of the things that I wanted to do that I didn't have time to do, create them, and do whatever I wanted to do on my own time. And that was how I birthed this thing.
So for people who are listening and maybe are caught up in the 9 to 5, wanting to figure out how to get out of it, don't really love what they're doing. I think it's about tapping into how sometimes the universe just speaks to us in ways that we better be paying attention to, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. You talk about how you had to go through an intensive detox process. And, I went through this. So let's talk about what that detox process is. It has nothing to do with drugs or alcohol.
No. The detox process is what I like to call a noun. It's people, places, and things.
Mm-hmm.
I had to remove a lot of people out of my life.
And that's scary at the time, don't you think?
Yes.
I thought it was really scary.
Yes. I had to get out of my comfort zone and just realize that most of the dreams that I were not able to achieve were because of the people who were in my life who just kept doubting me, and I kept kind of relaying myself from their opinions, and I kept holding on to these dead dreams because they didn't believe in my dreams, and I kept waiting for someone to endorse it,
Right.
not realizing that I really depended on them, not because I thought that they would endorse it, but because I had become comfortable in a cycle of having conversations with people who I thought were like me, not realizing they were hurting me. So I had to let go of those people. And I had a lot of people that were in my Rolodex and in my life, and even family members, who had to be removed in order for me to get to where I wanted to go.
Yeah,
The places were really important too.
I always like that line, you know, what you think of me is none of my business. And I think it's really true. I mean, I had to let go of really people who had been friends of mine, or I thought they were friends of mine, for decades.
Yes.
Because there just was not that support system. And now, you know, when you look at the people who you surround yourself with now, it's remarkable, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Because now I have what I like to call real cheerleaders.
Yeah.
They're not just there because they're doing their job. They're doing it because they're passionate about what I do, and I endorse them just the same. And I don't want yes people around me. I want people who can give me thought-provoking opinions, and that was why purging the people that were in my life that were even giving me a yes or just doubting me because they just figured you shouldn't do it because I'm not doing it. You know, those people had to be removed to bring in people who believed in everything that I was doing and everything that I was about to accomplish. And I like people to challenge me. I like people to you know, give me a new thought process. Try something different, you know. Take me to a new restaurant, try different food, try different things.
Right.
And I needed to bring that fresh inventory of fresh people with fresh ideas into my life. And that was how the detox process started. And it's painful. It took me many years. I mean, when I tell people there are cousins and aunts and uncles that I don't speak to, I just had to do what I had to do to let go of them.
Well, yeah, just because someone is part of your immediate family doesn't mean they're your real family. But you dared yourself to live the life of your dreams. And I think that's what holds most people back, is that it's a daring, courageous step to leave that comfort zone, which it's not really a comfort zone because we always live in terror of being fired.
Yeah.
And but why is it what holds people back? I mean, now you're a coach. You help people. Why does this hold people back so much?
It holds people back because we're used to patterns. We're like robots. I mentioned that in the book, and I mentioned that in a lot of articles. We're like robots. And some of it is just robotic syndrome. A robot moves in only a certain amount of emotion. And we are trained to do exactly what it is we are, quote unquote, trained to do. Many, like for instance, a lot of people live in certain places because their mother lived there, because their grandmother lived there, because their great-grandmother lived there, instead of breaking a mold. I am probably the first person in my entire family to leave New York City. Most of my family is still there. When I went to North Carolina, I was breaking a mold. So it's all about breaking that robotic syndrome and that addiction to whatever it is that's holding you to something. And that addiction usually has everything to do with destinational disease and not being able to say, I'm finished with this and I want to move on to something else.
All right, Carol, let's finish that up after the break. I got to take a quick break. You're listening to the Cindy Laverty Show. I'll be right back.